Coasters and beyond, we are East Coast DNA. My brother's name is
Darcy Walsh.
And I am Andrew. You can just say Darcy because it's East Coast DNA, not East Coast DWNAW. So we'll just
Darcy Knowles.
Yeah. So this is my brother.
Darcy Knowles.
And I am Andrew James Walsh.
I'm picking the first two initials for myself now.
Yeah. We are your East Coast source for local news and interviews. Write that down right quick. News and interviews.
News and interviews. Yep, that's the new Linktree tagline. It'll be like our fourth or fifth one, but
yeah,
I think that's it.
I'm working on my rap game. It's getting there. I'm dropping a few lines. And speaking of my rap game, what did you do last night?
Yeah. Dakota and I went to the All Ages show down at Glasgow Square, the summer 2022 hip hop takeover, and that was a sold out show. So they sold 200 tickets.
It was 200.
And
I thought that was one of the smaller, like 50-person things.
No, they had it on the main stage, but with the door closed, so it was indoors.
So just invert the crowd kind of thing.
Yeah. They did kind of a horseshoe table pattern so everybody could sit, and then had a big area for the people to get up close to the stage and everything. It was a lot of young people, a lot of teenagers that probably haven't really been out to a show maybe ever.
Yeah.
And definitely not just with their friends, a lot of them. So it was a little timid getting started, but the show got started and a few people got it moving. And by the end of it, if you look on social media, you can find a bunch of clips.
Sounds like it's a little bit bigger than the community center stuff we're used to in the area.
It's nice for a small community.
Yeah. There's a show at the Commune, and it seems like COVID made its rounds there, and then maybe on the weekend a little more rounds, and it's just kind of it's nice to see these 200 people out there, and I hope we can continue that, but we all have to.
I will say, if you do see on social media, if you happen to catch Dakota and I there, we have masks on. We're probably the only two people in the room that had masks on.
Scared on yell at you.
Anyway, so
at least when they're on video, so I'd see it. I'll get preaching them. Wash your fucking hands. Wash your hands. Get out of my face and wash your hands. It's simple.
I'm really excited that everything's going full tilt and there's a lot of options, but I'm really even this isn't a political podcast or a medical podcast, but I mean, we've talked about COVID nonstop, that we were born out of COVID. So they're predicting that we're going to be all locked down again come the fall.
Yeah, they said there might be a new wave in the fall. Like the wave hasn't stopped for the last 6 months since they started lifting all these fucking restrictions.
Yeah.
And then I'm like, it's not a wave. And if it's a wave, the surfers are loving it because they've just been sitting on this wave for 6 months. They're like, it's not a wave. Yeah. It's rampant.
And as of today, the positive cases don't even need to isolate. I mean, come on, people, if you're sick, stay home.
Yeah. They're recommending, but employers will look at that and say, you know what? I don't have to pay if you stay home. So we say people should stay home, and we know people should stay home. We know we should stay home. But if you don't get paid, then you kind of have to pay the bills and eat. So,
and to that point, if I was playing gigs, I'm not a performer that way, so it's not my world. But we interview musicians all the time. We hear the stories all the time. If you're playing gig to gig, trying to make a living, and I don't know. I'd be really conflicted. Like, you have a moral obligation kind of to stay home.
I could see if I was performing, and
if you're not overly symptomatic, you might be like, I think I can pull this show off.
Most people I know that recently had an infection said, my allergies were bothering me yesterday. And then the next day they're like, I have COVID. So I could really see if I was performing and I was looking forward to it. And it's been 2 years of not performing. And then you're like, yes, I'm playing tonight. And then you wake up with a scratchy throat. You're probably like, ugh, allergies. And in your head, you wouldn't even allow yourself to believe you had it. So you'd go out and do your thing. And then I understand it. I see it. I
honestly, like a 200-person show like last night is a little different. Or like the pre-Canada Day show, not like yesterday was playing. When I saw that was outdoors. If I was in a big crowd, I still kept a mask handy. But I mean, for the most part, I didn't have a mask on. I was outside and just around family that I'm around anyway. But I also try to keep a mask on the smaller shows, because not just for myself. If I were to happen to have it and not know that I'm spreading it for a couple days, I might give it to one of my favorite performers, and then maybe they don't have enough money to pay rent that month.
Yeah. Or
So I mean,
or
that would
destroy their voice and not be able to
yeah,
sing. If you go back
yeah.
to episode 1 and listen to my voice and listen to my voice today, it's not the same voice. It's
You went from an angel to a demon.
yes,
Horrible.
and then back again.
It's really bad that we're not putting it out there that people have to do anything, but I hope that people take it upon themselves just to be smart.
Yeah, just be smart. Just distance and washing hands. Anyway, when I saw a post today from the Commune, I thought it was, we have this going on here, and I thought they're going to close down for a couple days for COVID, but what do we know of the story there?
I just saw it this morning too. I'm assuming it's just because the same kind of thing with COVID and people being slow to get out and small towns and everything else. Maybe they just didn't have enough ticket sales. I've been to a few shows there myself, but I haven't been to all of the shows there myself. And some of them were low turnout. Some of them were decent.
But it looks like
they're
moving to a different venue. It says like that they're going to.
Yeah, and the new Commune title page says 2023. So I think they'll be in a new location.
Oh, not till next year.
This year until next year. I don't know. We'll have to. We should reach out to Derek directly, maybe before our next episode, and see what he says.
Maybe we can get Derek on for an interview sometime this year, and he can kind of tell us what his plan is. I don't think he'd be ready to spread that right now, but maybe in the fall.
There was a note there that they were going to keep the downstairs area that is the Commune open as a shoebox cantina.
Okay.
So be interesting to see what the plans are there.
Because I saw they just had a recent menu change. It seemed like, I don't know if it's a change, but they had like a whole weed infused menu, like appetizer, meal, dessert.
I was curious about that. That was just a couple people a couple local guys that we know that had a little special closed door treat.
Oh, is that what it was? A closed door treat?
Yeah.
Interesting.
I'm not sure what the long-term plans is with that, but that's the future. It's happening somewhere. So it'd be interesting to see if it's happening here.
Yeah, for sure.
And I had mentioned that the pre-Canada Day celebrations here in Glasgow, we had, not like yesterday, performing Trilogy had also performed, which was a treat for me. That I've been wanting to see them for a while. I don't think they played at all during COVID.
Not that I heard of, no.
Yeah. So that was nice to see them out. And as I had mentioned, there's a lot of stuff. I'm on vacation this week, so I was happy to get out for that show last night, but there's non-stop stuff going on in the county. I didn't intend on staying home all week for my vacation, but I haven't had a reason to leave the county yet.
Yeah.
Tomorrow night's another show down at Glasgow Square for the last of the first run of their Green Room series, which hopefully is a good turnout, and they decide to do another run of them. I've enjoyed the ones. I only missed one, and that was because we were recording, I believe.
Yeah.
Tomorrow night's Andre Petitpas and Lise Aaron.
Andre's always a good time. I never saw Lise.
Yeah, well, I was watching all her live streams when we were on lockdowns and stuff, so I got really into it back then, and her wild card song's still making the rounds.
Perfect.
So and she's doing a little string of shows with Andre Petitpas and the Giants following this. Like there's a whole they're playing tonight and tomorrow night and the night after. Like they're all
a whole tour, mini tour.
Yeah, so it'll be. I'm sure they'll have good energy since they've been performing together.
Yeah.
And another thing that's happening between now and then is the Picto Lobster Carnival. So I'll be heading down to that too. Got my weekend pass. Classified's playing. Mackie is actually, and Mackie and Jay the Kid, who were both last night at the hip hop takeover, they're playing before Classified. So I'll be sure to take in that. And a friend of the podcast, Awoke, is playing on Saturday with Beyond Ash.
Oh, perfect.
Ashley Georges, kind of like a reunion of them.
Mm-hmm.
So that's another good pairing. I'll be excited to get out. There's lots of good performers all weekend. So
I feel like if we start listing everything coming up at this point.
Yeah, I know.
Every town has something going on. So check.
Because we get Trenton Fun Fest the weekend after. I've got one here for Stellarton Homecoming. That's the weekend after that. There's a lot of little gems on those schedules too. Like if you look through, and start looking for the performers. There's a little bit of something for everyone.
And then the Jubilee's coming up and the Rib Fest and everything.
Yeah.
Tom Cochran's playing the Jubilee. Like, come on.
Yeah. Yes. It's exciting.
Yeah.
And we may have a special guest on our next episode to talk a little bit more about the Rib Fest and some of what they're going on for that event.
Perfect. And we are going to be interviewing Kristen Martell here in a few minutes. But first, we're going to take a break, and we're going to listen to Calypso by Vormir. I don't know if Vormir got their name before the Infinity Saga or after.
I'm assuming after, being that they're a newer band.
Yeah.
Some people may know Maggot St. Rose, and I believe you get a little description that has some more details of the rest of the band.
But if they're listening, they can let us know. Did you find the Soul Stone? And
yes, we need to know.
We'll be right back.
Secured you, it's all so clever. Killed you many years ago. I am Calypso.
Welcome back. We have Kristen Martell with us here now. How are you?
Hi, good. I'm great. Thanks for having me.
So Kristen is a folk pop. Is that how you would, as much as we hate genres,
Yeah, dreamy folk pop.
what
That's sort of how I
box are you
describe
in? Yeah. Yeah. And we have that you are from the South Shore of Nova Scotia, but not from the South Shore, from New Brunswick, correct?
That's right. I'm originally from a little town called Campbellton, New Brunswick,
Okay.
right up north,
Up
way
in
up
the
there.
Up in the where the French starts to merge in a little more.
Yes,
Yeah.
lots
Yeah.
of French. Yes,
Yeah.
I come from a French background actually. My mom's Acadian. And,
Yeah. Our grandmother
You have
does. So,
some
yeah.
bilingual songs as well, do you, or some French
well,
catalog?
I'm not out in the world yet, but
Mhm.
I am working on that. Yes, maybe you've seen some social media posts about me talking about it, but yeah.
I think I was on your newsletter there a few months ago when you
Oh,
had
there
some
you go.
stuff out too, so I might have
Yeah.
just been digging through there, and that's where
That's
I heard it
right.
from.
Yeah, I've been exploring writing in French. It's been a lot of fun, and I think I'm going to continue doing that and
That's exciting.
see what happens. Yeah.
I don't personally know French, but I've been around it my whole life. Our grandmother was
Our grandmother would swear
written
at us
French.
quite often in French when we didn't finish our
Right.
meal.
Yeah.
Yeah, she'd make us cry in French. So yeah.
my daughter's it was going through French immersion and stuff too, so I try to keep a little bit of French stuff around here every once in a while, just so that she knows what they're saying. So,
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I've been in Nova Scotia for 20 years now, crazy to say, and I haven't used my French very much. And
Mhm.
I want to be able to, I want to keep some. And I have young children as well, and it's hard to pass it on when I'm not using it every day. So
Yeah.
hopefully that'll change.
And you're down the Yarmouth area now, are you?
I'm
Or
in Mahone Bay.
Okay. Okay. Because I know Yarmouth has a lot of French there as well. So I thought it was, yeah.
Mhm.
Yeah, but it's different French. I lived in Yarmouth for a little bit
Yeah.
and made the mistake of saying to some locals that I'm French, and I was like, "Wow, no, I don't speak the same French."
Oh
Yeah.
yeah.
Very
The
different.
regional dialects of French.
Yeah,
I worked
Yeah.
with someone that was from Quebec for a little bit, and we met someone that was French, like Acadian French. And they go, "Oh, you're French. I'm French." And they start talking like, I don't know what you're saying. It was just this total separation of
interesting, isn't it?
dialect.
Yeah.
So what you started in New Brunswick, but from going through your bios and everything too, you didn't start your music until you were in Nova Scotia?
Yeah, I mean, music's always been a part of my life. I mean, I grew up with music. My grandfather was a multi-instrumentalist. Early on was inspired by him, and I went through the piano as a kid and was in the jazz band at school. And I picked up guitar a little bit later, though, in my 20s. And yeah, it wasn't until I moved down here to the South Shore. There's just so much music down here in Nova Scotia. And I remember it was a songwriter circle I went to see here in Lunenburg with Rose Cousins, Jill Barber, I think it was Megan Smith. And I was just so inspired by those three women. And I'm like, I just wanted to do it. I'm like, I can do this. I can. And I started songwriting not long after. And it was really, I was going through a rough patch at the time. And songwriting is kind of like a way of journaling, really, for me. It's like meditative. It's really just, it's how I make sense of the world, I say. And so I really found some purpose in it. And I just started writing up a storm and playing a lot of shows here locally. That would have been in the like mid to late 2000s at the time. And I just got going that way. But then I stopped for a really long time.
And is that just to focus on, like you said, you have young children and
Yeah.
like a partner, and you have a cool full-time job?
Well, not anymore. I quit
Okay.
that, but I did at the time. I did. Yeah, I was big in my career. I was working in the environmental field at the time, and yeah, I was just focusing on that. And I also, there was a bit of like, self-sabotage there, I think, too. It was a different world back then too, wasn't it? Easy, like we didn't have the streaming platform. Spotify didn't exist back then. Social media didn't even exist. How weird is that?
Yeah.
It was a totally different world for musicians, and it just didn't seem as attainable. So I just didn't do it.
I remember
So-
recording my band on a 4-track cassette tape recorder.
Oh my
and
God.
then I was recording stuff on the computer recently. I'm like, I kind of miss the 4-track, because if you mess up, it's just part of the song now. And there was no, like, I find
Yeah.
you go through things, I'm trying to perfect everything now. I'm like, I kind of miss that.
Oh yeah,
Just record it on tape and then it's there
it
now.
is what it is. Yeah.
But then you couldn't promote it. You couldn't put it anywhere because you had to pass out your cassette tape, and that didn't really happen in small town Nova Scotia. So you just kind of.
And is it part with COVID and stuff? Like, I know you.
How did I get back to it?
Yeah, was it part that and part the fact that the world has reached a point where it's how much effort you want to put in. It's not about whether or not you can do it. It's accessible to everybody, because I mean, everybody, even if you don't own a phone, at some point you can get your hands on a used phone and you could record on the phone, like if you wanted to. So
yeah, I mean,
is it
that
combination?
wasn't the impetus of me getting back into it. Really, I was again going through a rough patch, and like I guess it was 2018, 2019, I started writing again in a big way, and was really missing that music. And I just got back into it. Really didn't have any thoughts then. I knew nothing of the music industry. It was all just, doing it for myself, really, at that point. Getting a lot of value out of it that way. Then I had a health scare in 2019, and I know it sounds morbid, but I had this like vision of me being on my deathbed, and I'm like, I will regret this so much if I don't finally share this with the world. I don't know why I'm not doing this. Why am I not doing this? So it was just like this epiphany. I woke up one day and I'm like, this is what I'm going to do. And I remember telling my husband, and he's like, oh, okay. I didn't know you wanted to do that.
Now I do.
Together for a while. Yeah, it's like, where is this coming from? Like, well, I always really loved performing. I loved singing, loved sharing, loved connecting with people that way. And I just stopped. It's a shame that I put that part of myself away for so long. But when I finally decided, then everything kind of fell into place. I found a band, I found a studio, and I just got to work recording my EP that came out, Coming Home, came out in April 2020, which was the worst possible time as an emerging artist.
Yeah.
But I decided to release it anyway, and I'm glad I did.
It's funny, a lot of people that we've talked to actually, same way I asked you if it was a COVID thing that kind of pushed you into doing it.
Right.
A lot of people started 2017, 28, like a good percentage of the people we've talked to, if not all of them, started their projects in 2017, 2018.
Right.
Then it was the end of 2019 that COVID became a thing. Like, it's really weird that everyone was starting something new, then had time to focus on it, but it was hard to get an audience. And now we're just coming out the other end, and everybody seemed to survive. Like, the art made it through that horrible 2-year period. Despite the fact that we still have all these horrors around us, the music surviving through all of it. It's cool to see it consistently across all genres and with everyone that we've been talking to.
And I find the story of, I took a break to do adulting stuff, and then you miss it. That resonates a lot too. Like, I took time off, career, family, everything. Didn't play my guitar for probably 10 years. Actually, got rid of my, like, just didn't play at all. And then picked it up for a little bit, and then didn't again. But then I was in a accident, and then after that, it was like around the same time. I was like, well, I want to play, so I'm gonna play and find the time, because if you don't find the time, you might not have the time. So yeah. It makes sense.
And I think music is in us all. Like, they say we're born, we sing before we talk and before we walk. I mean, it's just so deep. Like, you can't take that away from us. And I think that, like, pandemic, like difficult times or times of joy or like times of big emotions, I mean, we're always turning to music and art and poetry. So I don't think any kind of disaster or anything could ever, take that away.
Yeah.
It's just, it's in us. But it is interesting how long it takes for these projects. You were saying a lot of people start in 2017. It's not coming out now. Like, people don't realize how much work goes into these projects. Like, sometimes it can take years. And it takes a lot of time and energy and money and
And
yeah,
motivation. Like you might be all
motivation.
motivated, and then one day you're just not for a couple weeks. Like you just
And
can't
that
do it. Yeah.
the money part makes the motivation part difficult, especially to like Andrew's point about adulting.
Mm-hmm.
Like
Yeah,
we're all in and around the same demographic age wise, and
yeah,
we all have kids, so we've all been in that situation where you really want to do something because it's something that you're passionate about, but
you need to pay
maybe
the bills.
it's not maybe the most responsible thing. Like
Yeah,
I'm gonna be a rock
yeah.
star and rich.
yeah, yeah, yeah.
There's not many of those around, and I
Mm.
think being realistic about, but it doesn't mean, I was reading a blog the other day talking about that, like being realistic about your art, because you have to have a side gig, and a lot of people do need to pay the bills. I mean, doesn't mean you're a failure. You're being
Hmm.
responsible, and I mean, you cannot make good art if you are stressed out
Mm.
financially because you can't pay your bills. Like, that's not a
Exactly.
good place to be. Then you're acting out of desperation, and you're taking gigs or job just because you kind of have to, maybe because it doesn't, maybe even if it doesn't align. Like, I don't know if that's a place you want to be sharing your art from.
Yeah.
So um there's lots of different ways to do it, and everyone has different goals, and everyone has different visions of where they want to be and what they want to do. But yeah, being in today's market, like, it is so much easier to get the music out there with social media and with the streaming. Like, it is so much easier than it was before.
For sure.
But I'm just so thankful that I get an opportunity to connect with people, and that the songs do resonate with people, and that's what it's all about for me.
Yeah, having someone
And
else
how
enjoy your art, it's huge.
Pardon me.
Having someone else enjoy what you wrote and being able to connect to your lyrics and feel that's a huge thing. So
Yeah,
yeah.
yeah,
so for your Should I Run song that's out now, you just released a remix as well. Is that
yeah.
somebody that reached out to you, or is that somebody you reached out to? Is that like an online connection thing? What's the story behind
The
you having a
remix.
remix? Yeah.
Yeah. Oh God, that's so unexpected and so fun. And yeah, I'd finished the record that's coming out in September, and Should I Run is the first single from the record. And that kind of, it was the project got like started and stopped, and we had COVID delays, and it was like but it was done, and I'm so thankful, and it worked out well. But I remember at the time when it was done, like, I need to find some joy. I'm like, it was funny, I was thinking in my head remix would be fun, but I had no idea who to reach out to because I'm not a pop artist. I'm not even in that realm.
Mm-hmm.
Then out of nowhere, this guy named Lee Rosevear reached out to me. We had been connected on social media. He does a lot of chill pop, ambient stuff. He
Hmm.
doesn't sing, but he does a lot of instrumental stuff. And I knew who he was because he did a remix for Kinley, if you know
Oh
Kinley from
yeah.
Mm-hmm.
PEI. And they won a Music PEI award for the
Hmm.
remix, and they were nominated at ECMAs as well. So he reached out to me, and he's like, would you like to collaborate? I'm like, sure. And I shared with him another song, wasn't on the record, and I was blown away with what he did. I still have this in my back pocket. I think I'm going to release it sometime next year. But I'm like, wow, I can't. There's nowhere for this to fit. I'm going to release some new music soon. I don't know where to put this. And he goes, well, why don't you share the album with me? I'd love to hear it. So I gave him a sneak peek, and he heard Should I Run, and he's like, I want to remix this. So
Oh,
I'm like,
that's really cool.
sure. So I sent him just my vocal stems, and he came back with, what you hear today in the remix, and I didn't have to change a thing. It was like, I was just blown away because, remixes can be, I don't know. I've
Yeah.
heard some
Yeah.
pretty strange ones.
Yeah.
Oh yeah. If you listen to a full remix album or like a single that has like 5 or 6 remixes, like you're not listening to that all the way through.
No,
I
No.
don't care. I don't care how much you're into that. You're not listening to it all the way through.
but
Yeah.
I really like what he created. It was
Mhm.
tasteful. It felt like still me. Like, it felt still ambient enough. I don't know, there was just enough of me still there. And I'm like, I can release this.
I don't know if you would get the reference personally. Myself in the late 90s, because we didn't have all the internet and social media and everything, I was big into going through classifieds and handwriting letters and stuff to different record labels and everything to get promotional materials and everything just for myself.
Wow.
Just like, not like, I mean, the podcast has only been going for months. So I mean, this is
Right.
back decades ago.
Pod wasn't even
But-
a word back then.
Right, exactly.
Pod what?
But Sarah McLachlan was on the network out in
Yeah.
Vancouver, and they did a lot of remixes.
Really?
And if you your remix would fit right on one of those compilations back then.
That's
Like,
awesome.
it because it's exactly like your style of music mixed with those ambient sounds, and then people remix. That's exactly what they were doing out at network back then. Like they had Sarah
Cool.
McLachlan, but they also had Skinny Puppy. Like
Right.
so they mixed all those artists together in collaborations. And
Wow. Awesome.
that's the exact vibe I got when I heard it. Hopefully Lee's a fan if they're listening, and
Yeah.
hopefully they like network as well.
Cool.
But that's
I hate
totally the vibe I got from that. I thought maybe you were trying to go for that, like maybe there was
No.
some type of influence there. but-
Well, maybe Lee did. I mean, I can ask him. Yeah. And it's funny, the Sarah McLachlan reference that has come up. Someone else has mentioned that Deep Dark Wonder did a review of the original version and said I had the Sarah McLachlan vibe, which was interesting, which I was a huge fan growing up of Sarah McLachlan. So that's quite an honor. Yeah.
I think I still have one of her remix albums sitting over on my CD. shelf. I'll have to dig that out later.
Probably do.
Yeah. I've never heard it, so I'm curious now.
Yeah, I'm gonna look if I find a couple similar tracks, I'll send you some links or something.
Yeah, please do.
But even just giving up what you created and letting someone else touch it, it's
Scary.
were you full of anxiety waiting to hear it? Like when you went to hit play, was it like, oh, what's this going to be? Do you remember that feeling?
Yeah, well, I guess I felt the risk was low because, he had approached me at that point. I hadn't, paid anything yet. It was like, I don't have to do anything with this,
Yeah.
So it was really just out of fun and just wanting to collaborate. And before he even started, I'm like, just so you know, I don't know if I'm going to do anything with this,
Yeah.
So the expectations were laid. So it was a pleasant surprise when I heard it, for sure.
Yeah. So fairly low stress in the whole scheme of things and just kind of for fun.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. And honestly, like that. So I did a video. I don't know if you guys have seen the YouTube video that I released with it. My marketing team was like, suggesting that I have some kind of visual with it. And I didn't have the budget for a video and I didn't have the time, really. It was just tight. So my husband and I just went out in the woods with the kids one night, way too late, way past bedtime for them. And we just recorded this video in the woods not far from my home, and I did some slow motion dancing to the song, just kind of letting loose, having fun, because that song really gives me that vibe of just like, and it kind of went mini. I don't know what constitutes viral, but it kind of went mini viral. It's up to like 120,000
Oh, really?
views now, and I'm like, whoa,
That's pretty good.
yeah,
Yeah.
Super impressive.
And they might have stayed up a
Yeah.
little bit late, but they have this memory forever.
forever.
And
yeah.
they have proof of the
yeah.
memory forever. They'll always have that. So
Yeah.
Yeah.
I might never have another video that has that many views,
yeah,
So there you go.
you try to chase it.
Yeah.
I find that
Worst
algorithm
thing you
weird
can
too.
do.
Like you're like, what did I do with this one that made it popular? And what,
It
just,
doesn't-
Yeah, they stay
Yeah.
up all night.
there's no figuring it out. I've been messing
No,
around. Yeah.
there's no rhyme or reason. The internet is weird and you never know. I don't know. As long as, I've tried to manage my expectations as I release music, just trying, first and foremost to have fun, enjoy it, be proud of it myself, and try not to attach too much about the outcome because it is so unpredictable. I
Mhm.
mean, you can
Mhm.
do a lot of marketing, a lot of promo, a lot of pushing it, but you don't know what, you don't know.
And the EP you just put out, and then you have an album coming out in September. Is that a whole new set
Yes.
of songs, or some of that EP bleeding into that full release?
So you mean EP, what I released in 2020?
Oh, I thought you
Is
had
that
one
what
just
you're
come out
referring
this year too. It was April
No,
2020.
no.
Yes, I wrote my notes
Yeah.
wrong then. Yeah.
That's all right. That's all right. No, so what's coming out in September? There are some new songs. There are some. I released 2 singles last year:
Okay.
"Photograph of Secrets" and "Quiet Hearts." They're going to tag onto this work as well. Dan
Perfect.
Ledwell produced those, and Gabrielle Papillon and I co-wrote them. And Gabrielle Papillon produced the rest of the songs that are going to be on the album.
And you had music videos for those singles?
I did, yes.
And Gavin McLean made one of those?
Yes,
Yes.
Gavin?
He's a friend of the podcast. He's,
Awesome.
I've been friends
I wouldn't
with
say
him
front of the
since
podcast. I'd say
teenagers.
we used to get
Yeah.
drunk with Gavin in the woods in the 90s. So.
Right. Okay,
Yeah.
So, and you must know his brother Nick too,
Yeah.
then,
Mm-hmm.
because Nick played on the record, and
Oh.
I'm playing with him a lot more now. He's he's accompanying me on some shows this summer. And
I talked to him back around Christmas. Well, it must have been just after New Year's because it was when he played with Tara for the New Year's thing in Halifax.
Yes.
So just in the New Year's talking about, and I think
Right.
he mentioned a couple things he was working on, but
yeah, so he would
Yeah.
have recorded in the fall.
okay. So he probably mentioned your name back then, but sometimes when I'm talking to friends, I separate it from the podcast and forget it on purpose because I don't want to say stuff I'm maybe not supposed to say. So
Oh, right.
I maybe actually knew that. That's exciting.
Yeah,
Just
he's
left the
great,
brain.
and Gavin's great. I mean, there's just so many great people in the industry. It's been a lot of fun meeting so many cool people this last couple of years.
Gavin was actually part of the brain trust when we were talking about doing the podcast and coming up with the name. He was sitting in the room, and I'm
cool.
like, we're doodling. I'm coming up with ideas, and he was there for that whole process. So
Oh, nice.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, we I like to give him a little shout out when I can because he was right there for the birth of it.
he's there for the
He's so
birthing.
talented.
Yeah.
Yeah.
He caught the baby. So,
Yeah, so he shot a really cool video. You should check it out on YouTube for Photograph of Secrets. He recorded just an in-studio video. We were at Echo Lake with Dan Ledwell, and I mean, I don't know how he made it look so cool. Like, when you're in studio all day, it can be kind of boring, but he has a really great eye.
Yeah.
He just did a great job with the video.
I've sat and gone through a few of his videos. I mean, I usually catch them as they come out, but I sat down one day and went through all of his videos. I'm like, I know the concept, but I can't do what he's doing.
Mm-hmm.
yeah.
Like I do so many similar things now with the podcast, but I can't do that.
Yeah.
It's that vision. It's the art piece. That's just him.
He sees the
Yeah.
angles that we don't see, right? So,
Yeah, so cool.
and you have some shows coming up, quite a few, like every weekend for the next month. Is that?
Yeah. I've got a fairly busy summer. I'm playing at Hubbart's next, the Trellis, on the 16th. That's just a local show, just outside of Halifax. And then I'm going to be doing a little mini New Brunswick tour in July. I'm going to be in St. John and Fredericton, Perth, and then Woodstock.
Perfect.
Which one of those is closest to your hometown?
Perth would be a guess, but that's not really close. It's still about 2.5
Oh, okay.
hours away. Yeah. I may wait for the album to come out before I do a show up in Hamilton.
Yeah, that would be
Get the crowd that way. Yeah.
Yeah. So I always try and do a little tour around New Brunswick in the summer because my folks are kind enough to take the kids for a couple weeks.
Oh yeah,
Mhm.
I can go
makes sense.
and pretend I'm single again and
Yeah.
stay up late.
Yeah. Stay up past 9:00. Yeah.
Yeah.
So if someone's looking for you, they want to follow along where your shows are happening stuff, what's your preferred social media, or where do you like to share your news?
Instagram and Facebook. Kristen Martell Music is where you can find me. Also, I keep my website up to date, kristenmartell.com. That's 2 L's on the Martell.
Perfect.
So either Facebook, Instagram, or my website. That'd be the best way.
And I saw you had a link tree as well, so maybe we'll share that in our show notes.
Yeah.
And then people can follow that to find you everywhere.
Find me everywhere. Yes.
And if people are looking for us, same deal. We'll have our link tree down below. You can find us there. And a link to our YouTube and Spotify and whatever Darcy comes up with this week for where he's going to put a playlist.
I got crazy with the companion playlist the last few weeks. We started trying out some different platforms. So
Yeah, it was everywhere. Yeah, if you guys want to listen to that to go along with the songs we're talking about, the people we're talking about, and the style of this week's episode, you listen to Kristen, probably some of her friends. We'll link those in there. And for now, we're going to listen to Should I Run, the remix version that we just spoke about. And we'll see you in a couple weeks. Goodbye.
Thanks.
You know it's time to turn the lights down low and take it slow. Hundreds admin dances on our lips and graces our skin. With words thick as smoke and soft black as skies and golden rays shine down again. It's not long before we see the enemy in the distance. Oh, they're coming after me. Should I run or should I take cover? I cannot decide. Should I run? Oh, I cannot decide. Maybe the answer's found in, maybe the answer's found in standing still, standing still. Maybe the answer's found in, maybe the answer's found in standing still. Should I run or should I take cover?